My wife Trisha was really playful this evening. She was jumping on my lap and giving me hugs on the couch after supper. My name is Jacob, but my friends call me Jay. I fell in love with Trisha over 5 years ago, and we just celebrated our 4th wedding anniversary last month. We met right after I was discharged from the Marines. During my time in the Marines, I got into weight training and self-defense. I spent the last year as a drill instructor and helped recruits become tough, field-ready soldiers. It was fun, but I wasn't destined to be in the military for my entire life. I had plans, and after I got out, I started my own gym and health trainer business with the money I had saved up. I had saved for my 4 years in the service, and the company took off rapidly. I devoted all of my time to expanding it and serving people. I gave consumers confidence that I could help them transform their bodies because I am 6 feet 4 inches and 255 lb of muscle. It's great to see people who were insecure when they first came in become strong, self-assured individuals. I helped Trisha and her sister, who was a client of mine, to become strong, self-assured individuals. Trisha was 5 feet 4 inches and 145 lbs, and just 110 lbs, so she was quite a bit shorter and lighter than me. She was thin, fragile, and innocent at the age of I was 26 at the time, and had a lot more life experience than this innocent little girl. She wasn't into training, but we loved doing things together whenever we could. We became exclusive, and our romance turned into marriage a year later. Our intimate bond was strong, and we enjoyed our lovemaking. To be honest, Trisha was the best lover I'd ever had. She was always attentive, loving, and uninhibited in bed. She met all of my needs, and I loved her with all my heart. As you might imagine, being a health trainer with a hard body and good looks to match, I constantly get propositioned by. The ladies I train are always up to something. It's a constant battle to keep things under control. I even had to install video cameras throughout the gym just to protect myself from any claims of sexual assault from one of the girls I turned down. Sometimes they got angry when I rejected their advances. I'd heard about some women making false claims, so I set up the cameras with a remote to my home so that Trisha can look in on me whenever she likes. Trisha knows how committed I am to her, and I make sure to let her know how much I love her. I'm a big guy and I'm pretty strong, but she never complained about that. We're doing well financially, thanks to my business growing nicely. Trisha works as a real estate agent to help with extra income. Last Sunday afternoon, we were relaxing in the living room with a bottle of wine, and Trisha was more playful than usual, giggling and jumping on my lap, giving me kisses and acting like a high school girl. I have to admit, I love the attention. When she acts like this, she always knows how to make me feel loved. Things took a very fast turn for our relationship when I found out why she was being playful, and she showed me some extra love by rubbing her hands through my hair. She smiled at me with that smile that always melts my heart and said, "Sweetheart, Brian is taking me out to dinner next Friday night. You're okay with that, right?" It actually took me over a minute to compute what I said. I must have misheard her, and that I loved that smile. When I didn't respond, she asked again, in a sweet voice, if I minded. I apologized and said I didn't understand. "Oh, silly, Brian from the office asked me out for dinner next Friday. I told him I'd think about it." I'd heard what she said and understood it, but I was pretty sure I'd misunderstood. Was she asking for permission to have dinner with Brian next week? Was this like a date, or was it just dinner and a movie? I sat there for a moment, trying to process what she'd said. I sat there for a long moment, mouth open, not believing that my wife, the love of my life, was asking me if it was okay for her to go on a date with another guy. "Trisha, that is the definition of a date. Do you want to do that? Go out with another guy. He's such a nice guy and we get along so well at the office. In the office, he always makes me laugh and feel good. I don't think of it as a date, more like drinks after work, but in this case, dinner and a movie." My head was spinning. Surely she could understand what she was asking, but I don't think she understood. You know, I've never gone out with another woman, or even thought about it. I don't know if I should be offended or jealous. He's nothing like you, and it's just one night. I will always love you, and I don't feel anything for him, but I want to do this. I already told him yes. I hope you're not mad. I wasn't mad. Mad was a much smaller. Fortunately, all of my military training allowed me to remain calm as I assessed the situation and quickly came up with an idea. "Oh, you already accepted? I get it now." For several months, Trisha was still on my mind and playing with my hair as I dialed the phone. "Hi, Angel, this is Jay," I said, watching my wife's face as she looked confused. "I'm good, thanks. Listen, is that offer still open for Friday night?" "It is great. My wife just told me that she wanted an open marriage. I thought of you immediately. That will be fun. I'll see you this week and we can plan it out." Trisha had stopped rubbing my hair and looked at me with squinted eyes. She was instantly angry and jumped off my lap and started screaming at me. I was surprised that she didn't see the hypocrisy of her actions and just listened to her as she continued to scream at me. "I can't believe you're going with some girl. Probably I'm sure I won't stand for you. Cheating on me and going out with other girls, Jay." I was trying not to laugh. I said, "But it's okay for you to go out with a guy from work." "It's different," he replied. "How is it different?" "It was just a night out together for some fun." "Well, that's what I'll be doing as well. Listen, Trisha, I have never wanted to be with. I don't think you'll be going on a date with another woman until you just told me a minute ago that you wanted to be with another man. Do you really think I would allow you to go on a date and just sit here alone looking at me like she just lost her favorite puppy?" I continued, "You started this and we're going to finish it. You will go on your date with Brian. I'm going on a date with Brian and you're going on a date with Angel. Whatever happens, happens. I hope we can remain faithful and stay married. After Friday night, I'll be sleeping in the guest room and sex between us is out of the question until I decide if I want to stay married to you. The thought of you wanting to, I was really hurt by what you said about being with another man. I feel nothing for you right now." Trisha was crying and angry at the same time. I would usually have held her and tried to comfort her, but not after this. I waited a few minutes for her to calm down and continued, "Next week. You and I are going to counseling to figure out why I'm not enough for you. Hopefully, if you can make me understand why I'm not enough for you, then perhaps we can stay married. But let me make it clear, whatever happens now is all on you. The thought of you even wanting to be with another man makes me I'm tempted to divorce you right now, but I'm mature enough to work through this. What happens on Friday night and how we feel after going out with other people will determine our future. Just remember, Trisha, whatever happens is all on you and your decision to go on that date with Brian. I have no intention of canceling my plans, and you'll have to live with the outcome, whatever it may be." She didn't say anything and left the room about 10 minutes later. I heard her on her cell phone talking to her sister, which I anticipated. I guess her sister told her she was out. She was acting all sweet and innocent again an hour later, but I was on guard and wouldn't let her try to manipulate me. I might have made a mistake about going out with Brian. I'm going to cancel it. I don't want to be with anyone. Trisha, you've already started something that I intend to finish. You can go out or stay home, but I am not canceling my date with Angel. You already told me how much you wanted this and hurt me on purpose. The only way out for me now is to see where this leads. Maybe you're right. We need to start dating other people and have a real open marriage. You need to understand that there are always consequences for your choices. This was your decision, and remember, it was you that accepted his date before you spoke with me. I was hurt, and I can't forgive that." She tried to Jay, "I need you to understand that it wasn't a date. It was just an after-hours thing. It's not that important, so I'll cancel it. Can't we just go out together on Friday night?" I ignored her and went out to the patio for some peace. I slept in the guest room that night and the rest of the week. After listening to Trisha crying all evening, I got a call the next day from her sister Helen. "Helen, Jay, are you really going out with another woman this week?" "You can't do that to Trisha. She loves you so much." My little sister accepted a date from a colleague without even discussing it with me. She came home and announced she was going to go on this date without caring about my feelings or our marriage. I'm definitely going to go on a date, and we'll see where we are afterwards. I've been monogamous. I'd never even considered being with another woman since the day I met your sister. To be honest, I love her more than anything, but I'm not sure I want to stay married to a woman who wants other men. That's going to be hard to get past. Do you understand that, Helen? Yes, Jay, I do. I didn't realize. She was that stupid. Please be patient with her. She probably doesn't even realize she's hurting you and thinks it's no big deal. Helen, I am being patient. I haven't kicked her out yet, but she will have to live with the consequences wherever they lead. After having another conversation with Trisha, Helen eventually helped her see the damage she had caused to our marriage and my feelings, as well as the consequences of dating someone else. Trisha apologized and begged me to reconsider and to cancel our dates. However, I was on a mission now to even things up. Let her see what I've done my best to stay positive, but I'm starting to wonder if we'll be able to salvage our relationship. I really hope that no other man has to go through what I'm going through right now. I'd appreciate it if you could refrain from judging my decisions until you've been in my shoes. If you have, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how I should remain patient and forgive. I didn't make plans for Angel to pick me up that night because I wanted her to meet my wife and make sure she knew it was okay to go out with a married man on Friday night. Even though she didn't want to go out with her work buddy, I insisted she stick to her commitment with her boyfriend. Unfortunately, she didn't. I could call him her boyfriend and try to reassure her that he was only a friend. Trisha was dressed nicely for her date with Brian. She wore a cute dress and looked her usual pretty self. At least she didn't try to dress and look hot for this date, which gave me a little hope for us. I was a bit nervous about meeting Angel, but I told Trisha she should come along and meet my date. I wanted to reassure her that we now have an open marriage. She argued with me about it, but I ignored her. I was being a bit of a jerk, but I thought it was all justifiable. Trisha was pretty shocked when Angel came in at 6. It was 6 p.m. morning. Angel was the total opposite of Trisha. Trisha was petite, while Angel is 5 feet 10 inches and in great shape from all the training. Her large C-cup breasts were spilling out of her dress, and she looked incredible standing next to me. I wore my tight-fitting sports jacket, which revealed my muscular body. I even made Trisha take a few photos of us together before we left, which really annoyed her. We made a good impression. We looked like a couple, and we could have been posing for the cover of Sports Training magazine. I saw Trisha seething with anger and jealousy, but there was nothing she could do. She finally realized that she might have opened a bottle that she may not be able to close. I was laughing inside when I introduced them and heard Angel say, "Trisha, it's so nice to meet you. Jay told me all about your open marriage and I'm happy for you. I've been after this. He's been a hunk for the last year, and I was so excited when he called me on Sunday. I heard you also have a new boyfriend. Good for you." I could see Trisha's head about to burst into flames, but she couldn't reply fast enough because the doorbell rang and she realized it was Brian. She got all nervous as I opened the door and let him in. I was a little surprised to see who she was going out with. Brian was maybe 57 and almost as tall as Trisha, who is 4 feet. In heels, he wasn't an attractive man. I had no idea what she was thinking. He weighed about 150 lb, was losing his hair and clearly not a physical threat, but still posed a problem in our relationship. I think the poor guy was going to be really embarrassed when he saw my massive body towering over him. His hand felt small, cold, and clammy as I gave him a bone-crushing handshake. I gave him a bone-crushing handshake for fun as I said, "My wife is ready for your date night. Have fun." He just nodded and looked over to Trisha for help. Angel and I were laughing when we were leaving, and I knew Trisha was going to lose her mind. I didn't feel bad for 1 second and hoped this would end well. We got home and got to my house around 6. It was 10 p.m. The next morning, Angel dropped me off. We had a nice long goodbye kiss in the driveway, which I thought Trisha might have seen from the window. Angel and I had a nice dinner, went dancing at one of her favorite clubs, walked on the beach after the club closed, and then had breakfast before she drove me home. It was an interesting night. She was fun to be around. She was a great dancer, had a great sense of humor, was as good as they come, and a spectacular kisser. We didn't go any further than a kiss, but there was a chemistry there that I knew could lead to a very exciting relationship. However, Trisha was the only thing on my mind that entire night when we were dancing. I thought about my wife when we were on the beach. It brought back memories. From the moment Trisha and I arrived in Hawaii, I was filled with thoughts of her. I was happy and sad at the same time. I walked into my house wondering if it would ever be my home again. Trisha was up waiting for me when I walked into the house. She gave me a nice kiss. "What else did you do all night?" I ignored her remark. I said, "Good morning, Trisha. How was your date? Brian seems to be a nice guy. Did you sleep with her?" She howled in an angry voice. "Trisha, it was only our first date. You should know me better than that." "First date? Are you seeing her again?" "I don't know. Are you seeing your boyfriend again?" "Of course not. I don't want him. I want you." "Well, you wanted him last week. What changed? I realized that I was an idiot. I thought I could go out and just have fun with a guy, just like I would with one of my girlfriends. You know, just hang out. But you had to take out that supermodel and stick it in my face, she said, crying into one of the tissues that littered the couch. That she must have been there all night, crying and waiting for me to return. It was clear that I think she realized what she'd done, and maybe she saw him as just someone to hang out with like she would with one of her girlfriends. I mean, the guy wasn't a threat and I may have overreacted. I'm still surprised to think that any woman could think that a husband would be okay with letting his wife go out with another guy, even if it was innocent. I took her in my arms and I held her close and said, "Trisha, I love you, but I cannot live with a woman that wants to be with other men for any reason. I will not put up with cheaters. If it happens again, you lie to me or do it behind my back, and I will kick you out on your ass and divorce you on the spot. Do you understand?" She threw her arms around me and kissed me. "Yes, baby, I would never cheat on you. I never wanted to be with anyone else but you. This was different. You still didn't tell me how your date with Brian went. What happened?" "It wasn't a date. What you did with that Barbie doll was a date. We had dinner, but he was so shaken up after seeing you and hurting his hand that he took me home right after. It wasn't fun, and I had a terrible time. He dropped me off before 8, it was 10 p.m. morning. I've been here thinking about what you were doing with her all night. Then I saw you kiss her like that, and she started sobbing again. I held her and told her everything would be fine. I even laughed to myself, thinking about the little guy meeting her Muslim man husband after I shook his hand. I was fairly sure he was going to be he was a gentleman that night, which was another reason I waited to meet him before Angel and I left. Let's forget about last night for now, but I'm serious about counseling. I still need to understand some things, and you also need to understand my feelings. If we can get through that and I can trust you again, then I won't see Angel or any of the other women who keep asking me out." She was pretty shocked when she realized Angel wasn't the only one. We spent the day in bed, making sweet love and getting reacquainted. I started sleeping back in my own bed and started on the path back to sanity. Counseling was the answer to our situation. Mrs. Williams was empathetic and nurturing. Trisha had to explain to Brian how her actions made me feel insignificant and hurt. She didn't see Brian as a man, just a friend. She tried to explain that she never said it was a date, just a night out with her friend Brian. She tried to explain that it wasn't any different than her doing the same thing with one of her Mrs. Williams finally got through to Trisha that, in a monogamous relationship, you don't spend time with other men and ignore your husband. Trisha tried to complain that I was being vindictive by dating that woman, who was clearly much sexier and better looking. She said it wasn't fair and that it wasn't right, Mrs. Williams explained. I gave my perspective and shared some thoughts that helped her calm down when it was my turn to speak. I explained that I now understood her intentions, but I still wouldn't accept her spending time with other men. I looked at Trisha and said, "Trisha, I love you, and you hurt me when you told me you were. When I found out you were seeing other men, my fight-or-flight military training kicked in. I decided to fight back. If you were going to see other men, I would respond by dating other women. I never wanted to do that, and I regret it happened. But this was your mistake. If you do something like that again, you will have divorce papers within a week. I won't put up with a cheating wife. I realize and understand that you didn't consider this a date, which is why I'm willing to work on our marriage. But don't ever try that again." Everyone was quiet after that outburst and things had changed. Trisha was more in tune with my feelings, and we talked more and turned this ridiculous event into a stronger marriage. We continued therapy for several months and found new ways to keep each other as our main focus in the relationship. Angel was understanding and even called Trisha to tell her she would back off. She said she wouldn't go after her husband, but if she ever wanted to ditch him, she'd be happy to step in. Trisha understood that she had me, and that she could lose me to another woman very rapidly. She never again offered me any cause for jealousy or even to consider dating a man. She now realized the significance of a date, and that making bad decisions has repercussions. Trisha and Brian stayed friends, but Brian was too afraid to approach anyone again, or go beyond being colleagues. I came to see that ladies aren't always able to understand conventional thinking.